Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, and today's video will be covering another new Nintendo Switch eShop sale and 10 more great games worth buying, all under $10 each, so let's get into it. The first game on today's list is the Moonlighter Complete Edition. Moonlighter is one of my favorite roguelike dungeon crawler RPGs meets shopkeeper sim. And you'll play as a young shopkeeper Will that finds access to a mysterious dungeon, and he'll dungeon dive by night, collecting rare treasures, and then sell those goods throughout the day in his shop and use those funds to rebuild his town and save his village. And so it's a really cool, addicting gameplay loop where the dungeon crawling scenes take place in more of a top-down bird's eye view and feature action combat similar to the classic Legend of Zelda series. And then, as I mentioned, you'll collect different treasures, take out enemies throughout the dungeons, and fight challenging bosses, and you'll use all those supplies that you gather throughout the dungeon and return home and sell those goods in your shop. And so it creates a little shopkeeper type sim as well. And so this is really fun where you'll be able to place your goods up for sale, price them accordingly, attract new people to your store, and sell them those goods for a profit that you can then use to expand your skills, upgrade your equipment, attract new merchants to your village, and much more. And so the shopkeeper sim is a lot of fun. You get to expand your shop over time, hire other people, and scare off shoplifters, all while trying to make a profit. And so it's a fun combination going back and forth between the two of dungeon crawling and building your shop and expanding the village. It's incredibly addicting gameplay and a whole lot of fun, and I definitely recommend it. The next game is Owlboy. And so Owlboy is an action platformer adventure game where you'll play as a young Owlboy, Otis, as he tries to go on a journey to save his village from attacking pirates. And so it has some interesting mechanics where it's not just platforming, it's also a lot of flight involved. So you'll be moving around and flying around the screen. But on top of that, you'll also combine your powers with different characters you meet along the way. And you'll need to carry these characters around with you, flying through the screen. But as you do so, that will unlock unique puzzle solving elements and abilities for your character. Again, it's a really cool concept and a fun twist on the action platforming genre. There's a lot of different unique areas to explore. It has really high quality pixel art graphics. And if you like action platforming games, I would definitely recommend checking this one out as well. The next game is Flamekeeper. And so Flamekeeper is a unique roguelike action game mixed with some tower defense elements as well. And so you actually play as a young flame trying to restore the light throughout the land and to prevent it from being overcome by darkness and evil creatures. And so it's a really fun concept where it takes that top-down action adventure style game where you'll be going to different worlds trying to rebuild the flame. And it's an interesting concept in the sense that in order to power up and build up this flame, you actually need to sacrifice some of your own energy to fuel that fire. You'll also explore the land, defeating enemies, gaining more energy, and lighting other fires to try and build up this flame. And once it gets to that point where it's a roaring fire, you'll actually take on somewhat of a tower defense style game where you need to protect that flame from incoming waves of enemies. And then once you've done that, you'll actually take on a major boss fight throughout each level, and it kind of repeats that style of gameplay throughout different areas around the world. On top of that, you also will have a skill tree that you can unlock. So if you are defeated, that's kind of where this roguelike element comes into play, where you'll eventually be able to power up your character, making it easier to light these fires and defeat enemies across the land. Eventually, as you explore, it also has some platforming elements that come into play. And so that's another cool feature of the game as well. If you haven't checked this one out yet, I definitely recommend it. The next game is CrossCode. And so CrossCode is a unique action RPG with a compelling story and some challenging puzzle elements thrown into the mix as well. And so you'll play as a young girl that has lost all of her memories and is playing in this MMORPG in the hopes of restoring her memory. And so you lost it within the game, and so your goal is to kind of hopefully gain that back as you explore and build up your character and complete the story of the game. But it's kind of a cool fourth wall breaking element to it as well, where you're a player playing the game and you'll meet other players along the way. so you'll both be engaging with them throughout the in-game MMO story, but also the greater story as a whole, trying to restore your memories. And so it's a really cool concept and a great storyline with lots of twists and turns, but the action elements to the game are a lot of fun as well. And so it is that bird's eye view action adventure game. It sort of feels like Legend of Zelda to some extent, but you have a unique ability where you can throw a ricocheting ball around the screen to attack enemies and solve puzzles. And there's also some elemental bases thrown into that as well, leading to some unique and challenging puzzle elements. The game also features a large skill tree, which was a lot of fun to unlock and explore. It's definitely one of my favorite indie RPGs in recent years, and I definitely recommend it. The next game is Neon Abyss. And so Neon Abyss is a roguelike action platformer meets run and gun shooter. And you'll actually play as a young hero that goes on a quest of revenge to avenge his family's murderers. Until you'll face off against waves of enemies throughout challenging dungeons. And along the way, you'll also encounter several different mini bosses and even massive challenging bosses as well. And you'll acquire several different weapon types throughout the game and different synergy powers you can unlock along the way, creating very unique and fun builds as you progress throughout the game. On top of that, there's multiple difficulty settings for the game, making it more accessible, but also it is that roguelike element, so over time you'll be able to build out an expansive skill tree, powering up your character, allowing you to progress much further throughout the game. It has an addicting gameplay loop, and if you like twin stick shooters, run and gun shooters, and roguelike action platformers, this is a cool combination of them all, and I definitely recommend it. The next game is Dicey Dungeons. And so this is a roguelike dungeon crawler meets deck building game, and you'll play as a hero that has been transformed into a living die by evil Lady Luck. And you need to play through a twisted game show dungeon crawling adventure in hopes of escaping the dungeon and restoring yourself to your original form. And so, as I mentioned, it combines a lot of cool elements. It's like turn-based RPG meets deck builder meets dungeon crawler with a funny over-the-top story as well. And so you'll have several different classes of character types you can choose from, each with their own unique play style and theme. And over time, you'll be able to master these classes and make them more powerful, unlocking new abilities. And so that's a lot of fun and addicting, but the combat is fun as well. Where again, as I mentioned, it's sort of a deck building concept where you'll roll your dice, and depending on what numbers you get, you'll be able to use cards throughout your deck and unlock those powers to attack enemies and complete the challenges. And so over time, you'll be able to upgrade and unlock more abilities to better utilize your dice rolls. And so it's a cool concept and a lot of fun. And so if you like that roguelike dungeon crawling element mixed with deck building, I think this game's worth checking out as well. The next game is Blue Fire. And so Blue Fire is a unique 3D platformer meets action RPG. And you'll play as a young creature Umbra as you go on a quest to prevent the return of an ancient evil that's threatening to destroy the world. And so the game itself plays almost like a hybrid combination of game types, sort of like a 3D Legend of Zelda game meets Hollow Knight meets Dark Souls. And so it has very challenging platforming, again similar to the Hollow Knight games. It also sort of has that art style feel as well, but more in a 3D fashion. And then the combat and exploration feels sort of like Dark Souls meets The Legend of Zelda. And so it's a cool concept, but you'll have upgradable abilities you'll be able to use for your character, upgradable weapons, many dungeons to explore, engaging combat, and much more. And so if you're looking for another 3D action adventure game, I think I'd recommend this one as well. The next game is Battle Axe. And Battle Axe is an arcade-style hack and slash game similar to classic titles like Gauntlet. And you'll play as a group of heroes as you try and stop an evil sorceress from destroying the land. And so throughout the game, you'll be able to play as several different classes. As I mentioned, there's an elf, there's a wizard, and a marauder, and each one has a unique play style and feel to them. So you'll likely want to play through the game multiple times as each character, but you can also play the game in local co-op as well. It definitely has challenging gameplay and has that arcade style feel to it, and the graphics as well. It feels like an early 90s arcade style game meets Super Nintendo graphics. It has challenging level design and boss fights as well. And I think if you like classic arcade hack and slash style games, you'll like this one as well. The next game is the Dying Light Definitive Edition. And so this game is an open world, first person, zombie apocalypse action RPG. And it's really a cool combination of those action RPG elements mixed with high-paced parkour action. And so you'll be traversing around the city of Haran, trying to survive this zombie outbreak. And this definitive edition includes the base game and all the DLC as well. And so you'll have a massive open world to explore and a lot of different challenges to take on and an engrossing story with lots of twists and turns. But I really enjoy the fast-paced action of this game as well. It has an addicting RPG mechanic where you'll level up your abilities based on how much you use them. So the more buildings you climb up and jump off of and the more zombies you take out, the stronger you'll get and the faster you'll get, and you'll increase your parkour abilities, and eventually you'll be hopping from rooftop to rooftop, scaling buildings and much more. It's really easy to get sucked into this world and spend hours upon hours of gameplay. And so if you like zombie games and the feel of an open world RPG mixed into one, I think you'll like this game as well. The final game on today's list is Final Vendetta. And so Final Vendetta is a retro-inspired beat-em-up similar to classics from the early 90s arcade and Super Nintendo era. And so throughout this game, you'll play as a band of heroes as they try and stop the evil syndicate gang from taking over the city, but at the same time, you'll be trying to rescue one of your main character's kidnapped daughters from the clutches of this evil gang. And so it follows a similar plot and storyline to early 90s arcade-style games. And so that doesn't make it stand out by any means, but the gameplay is a lot of fun where you'll have multiple playable characters to choose from, and each one has their own set of skills and feel to them. Where one of them is more slow but really strong, another one is kind of more of an all-around character, and then the other character you can play as is more of the fast character but isn't quite as strong as the others. And so you'll be able to choose which one you play as. And the gameplay itself is very challenging. So again, expect that early 90s arcade feel to it. But I think if you like those classic style beat 'em up games, you'll really enjoy this game as well. But overall, that wraps up today's video on this latest Nintendo Switch eShop sale and 10 more great games worth buying, all under $10 each. And so if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel. And another really cool way you can help support the channel is we actually partnered with a game store, Nutmeg Games. And so if you head to nutmeggames.com/nerdproblemsgaming or use our promo code nerdproblemsgaming at checkout, you'll receive 10% off your order and help support our channel at the same time. So if you like things like Magic cards, Pokemon cards, board games, and more, check out that store and use our discount code and help support our channel at the same time. On top of that, if you like videos like this on video games, board games, and everything nerdy, check out one of our other videos here. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out, and to make sure you don't miss out on any future sale videos so you can take advantage of these great deals. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.